But if you can find some that do the amazing work, you can make a legend out of it. John Wick, if you had none of the choreography, would not be the
just some guy walking.
No, no, it would be James Bond, but the old school one.
John
Yeah,
walking.
true. John walking. That's really good. Actually, that's my next D&D character, John Walking.
John walking.
John
Wick, except for he doesn't fight.
Yeah, he just walks places. He's a pacifist.
Just a reminder, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast. Different series that require a spoiler warning will be in the description. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gaming Theater Podcast. Today's episode is going to be all about fight scenes and fight scene choreography and how they can tell us a story for this fight scene choreography on this. Now, in order to help me out, I'm going to have a couple of guests that's going to be on here talking about this. Let us introduce each other for ourselves. Now, once again, my name is Leo. I am the Geek Scorpio, and I'll be your host for the evening. And over to my right is going to be...
Hello, my name is DandDaine. I have a background in fight choreo. I've done some fan films where I have choreographed fight scenes and safety and all that sort of stuff. And I used to do Shaolin Kung Fu. And I make video game and TTRPG content on the internet. Let's talk more about me, I guess.
Not if I don't stop it.
Yay! Please do. Please save me.
All right. That being said, now we're all next to them is going to be our friend.
I'm sorry, my Roomba was emptying itself and just like...
Oh, the edits I'm going to have to do in this episode.
I mean...
We always fix and
You
post.
can keep the stuff in about my Roomba. It's okay.
Yeah, and you can see me eating as I'm trying to like get out of screen.
Always get ready to fix it in post.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm an artist, martial artist, and also other things. Oh my gosh, this is a terrible intro.
I know, for what it's worth, I always feel like I know what I'm going to say, and then Leo calls on me, and I'm like, I'm a guy.
Meanwhile, I have this thing down to a science.
Okay, let me start. Let me,
It's like,
let me start
No,
over.
you have your consistent line. That's your advantage.
Exactly. I'm just like, every time I come on this podcast, it's new.
But Leo's just like, haha, back to my playground, I see.
You gotta keep the viewers guessing. I appreciate that about you.
Okay, I'm gonna start over.
Now I'm editing a lot in post.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Kate, artist, martial artist. I'm Kate O'Glasson on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Blue Sky, and let's see, what's the last one? I think that's it. Cool.
All right.
That's me.
I like Kate's better than mine now.
Are you sure that was a dumpster fire?
I don't know. It felt really good, actually, from my perspective.
Oh, good.
All right. And lastly, but not least, let's go over to our other friend over here.
Hey everyone, I am Ben. I go by El Penguin. I have had experience in both collegiate wrestling and judo, along with video stunt fights, musical stunt fights, stage stunt fights, and also professional wrestling.
Woo!
So I got quite a resume for this particular podcast.
It is a little bit funny to me,
All
Ben,
right.
because I've seen you, not to interrupt, Leo, and maybe you'll cut this, maybe you won't.
No.
It is content that is applicable, I will say that. But I have fought one of your contemporaries in the fan film that I helped do choreo for. Logan and I were on that.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah. So I think it's cool that like the wrestling and the choreo worlds intersect a lot, because I mean you guys are doing
They
choreo.
really-
Don't mean to say you're not, but
Oh, don't worry, I got whole rants to go on for that one.
sure. Yeah, it was cool though.
All right. Now, that being said, I guess I should introduce what my background in the arts martial is, which is I've taken several classes in Shaolin, boxing, and a few other miscellaneous arts, and also have done some amateur wrestling as well. So I've got a few shows of that, and I've done fight choreography as well for that. That being said, let's just go over to the Magical Merch booth.
Woo!
Here we are in the Magical Merch booth. Now, unlike most of our other episodes, if you are watching this on YouTube, we are going to start getting some of these episodes coming out on video for these. And we'll do some editing for that, and there'll be more coming up in the future for itself. Ideally, this will be timed to be out at the same time with the video side as it would for the regular podcast episode, if everything goes right. If not, then you may be able to watch this itself in YouTube for that. But that's about it. But if you don't see someone's face on there, don't worry about it. There'll always be a little thing, a little image on there just for them to play around with.
I don't have a face. That's why.
You know, I loved you in Spirited Away, Kate. I just gotta say.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You
your
know,
performance, masterful.
yeah, that's one of my best roles, I think, really, in all the ones I've been in.
Yeah,
I'm really proud of that one.
Pan's Labyrinth, I think you were pretty good in as well.
Oh, yeah. I really was proud of that eye trick I did.
Yeah, really cool.
Kate's kind of a big deal over here.
Yeah.
The many no faces of Kate.
The many no faces. Oh, and my work in Avatar. Yeah.
Oh, incredible.
Oh. I like how I like how you mix it up when instead of no faces, you put on all the faces.
Yes. I really liked that role because I got to use so many different faces, you know?
That's fair. I don't know if this was you or if you had heard about this, but I know in Glasgow they had that not Willy Wonka, but lawfully different Willy Wonka
Legally
experience.
distinct.
Legally distinct. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Legally distinct.
Where the enemy was the unknown. I don't know if that was you or if you'd heard of that, but it was stellar work if it was you.
You know, I can't really say because of the lawfully different
Sure.
whole thing. Yeah.
You got to
Legally
protect yourself. I get
exactly.
But with that being said, we'll get back on to the show.
That.
Okay, so on today's episode, we're going to be talking about storytelling through fight scenes and fight scene choreography. So fight scenes themselves, as far as the origins of that, actually has to come with ancient plays, back from Greek plays and even Japanese plays like No, I think is a play style that they do, in Kabuki and various other things. Now, what happens is, for that form, originally it originated with dance and ballet and various other forms of dancing on that. Now, once it started with dance, it became choreographed into fight scenes and such. And there's famous fight scenes that are happening all over the place. There's very few actual plays that we bump into that doesn't have a fight scene for it that isn't fairly well choreographed, unless, of course, the story doesn't require one. Romeo and Juliet, famous play, even as old as it is, there's tons of fight scenes throughout that whole thing. And so fight scenes are just things that we have. However, fight scenes themselves kind of have evolved as we go, from different forms that we have to their own type of storytelling. Think of it more like around the lines of almost like miming and pantomiming, where the fight scene, if done well, will enhance the storyline that they're talking about for it. So what we're talking about this, if we're fast forwarding from ancient times to modern day or modern-ish day, we'll be hopping in around. So on this, when we talk about fighting scenes, their fighting styles for it, there's different variations for it. Like, probably a good idea for that one is, or a famous idea for that is Star Wars. In Star Wars, before George Lucas changed sort of how and the upper echelons of the writing for Star Wars changed how Star Wars lightsabers were supposed to work. Originally, the lightsabers were thought up as, and this is George Lucas's inspiration from Japanese film, as the swords as being different types of swords. Luke Skywalker's sword and Ben Kenobi's sword, which was the light blue one, was supposed to be a light sword. So not light as in photons and colors and lights and things, but light as in a light blade. So like more like a long sword or a type of bronze, or something that you would use that would be one-handed was the idea behind it. Meanwhile, Darth Vader was using a red lightsaber, which was supposed to symbolize power, and as such, they told the actors to always hold it two-handed, always run it with two hands to exclaim how much more power that it's needing to they have to hold back. And that's what the original thing was. The blue lightsaber was supposed to be for a single-handed weapon. The red lightsaber was supposed to be a two-handed weapon, and the green lightsaber, which was supposed to represent balance, was supposed to be more like a bastard sword, which could be used one-handed or two-handed. That's the gist of it. Other lightsabers, they've changed how the storyline works for them, but originally that's what it was meant for.
Yeah, I do find it very interesting that Lucas did take a lot of inspiration from Kurosawa's films, and it's very well seen in the fight scenes in Star Wars, especially in A New Hope, right? Those of you who may be more familiar with the prequels, as they came out more in your lifetime, there's obviously a very big difference between the prequels and the original trilogy versus the sequel trilogy. You know, you go from having the movements of Ben Kenobi, Alec Guinness, and of Darth Vader are very like systematic and very like I wouldn't say flashy, right? I mean, technological limitations being what they were at the time, but even the choreo itself was just kind of like I hit you, I hit you, I hit you, you hit me, I hit you. Like it's very ones and twos, which I find very interesting. Because they had to have the rotoscoping and stuff on there, right? Being able to make them lightsabers as opposed to just sticks. So I think that seeing that, you know, then utilized as sort of more of a katana based or more of like a you know, samurai film type of lens is really an interesting way to watch the original trilogy for Star Wars.
So, and that's basically the big thing for the original trilogy. When they started moving into the prequels series, that one, there was less form that was necessary for it. However, that doesn't mean that they slouched on it. I believe it's the third of that. Not Clone Wars.
Mustafar? Well, not Mustafar. The duel.
The duel. And like Duel
so
of the
good.
Fates and such. Like even from props to the actors on that one, because they did a lot of their own choreography for it.
No, Hayden Christensen was an amazing stunt actor.
Yeah,
very much so.
Say what you will about the prequels.
Stuff. Yeah.
The fight scene on Mustafar between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin
is
one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen.
And it's a long fight scene.
And full speed.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like they are going through it.
So that's the sort of the thing that we're talking about with choreography. Choreography is what Dane's talking about with ones and twos, is how complex that you make it. The easier or simpler that you make the choreography, the easier it is to maneuver. So like if I'm saying, okay, here's my choreography: right hook, left, right hook, and then left again, then and as the other actor would have to go block right, block left, and you just memorize the maneuvers. A lot of actors who do choreography do not necessarily have to be fully skilled or fully articulated on that. What I mean by that is like Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a fighter, but he is in tons and tons of combat based movies and such, especially throughout the 80s. But what you do with that is that if you have all these combat things on there, you want to keep the choreography simple to make it easier for them to work out. But like we were talking about with Hayden Christensen and Geddes, I can't think of.
Oh my gosh, Ewan McGregor.
How dare you not remember the name of our Lord and Savior on this, the day after Easter?
Exactly.
Guys, it was a joke. All right, it is April 1st.
Oh, April Fools.
That's right. Right. April Fools. He didn't.
I would pay money to see Hayden Christensen and Alec Guinness have a lightsaber fight.
Oh my god.
Just to be fair.
Look, to be fair, I got the character right.
You did.
It's still Ben Kenobi. Still
true.
nailed it.
That's true.
But no, so like the longer and more complex a fight scene, the harder it is. Like if you want something that's famous for that Jackie Chan movies, like in
Oh
general.
my god.
Those choreographed scenes go on for a while, and for the longest time, it was The Legend of the Drunken Master had the sequel, the second movie on that, had the longest choreographed fight scene in a film. It was something like 14 minutes long.
So I feel
Ooh,
like we should
jeez.
mention too, since we're talking about Jackie Chan, Peking opera is actually one of the best forms of theater and martial arts, and he was one of the children trained in the Peking opera, which is why he's so amazing, is because he was trained in that. It was actually, oh my gosh, if you ever watch the stories, I think it's the Seven Little Fortunes. They made a movie about what he had to go through in the Peking opera, and it's
Intense.
insane. Yeah, insane. But you can see how it turned out, because he is one of the best, especially in film.
And even he won't say even Jackie Chan doesn't call himself a martial artist, even though he has the skills and he's really high in those skill levels, because his background is dancing and choreography.
Yeah.
He's more feels himself out as like a dancer than he does as a choreographer. But that dedication is what makes his movies so well to do these giant scenes, utilizing the backgrounds, utilizing the combat skills that he has, utilizing all these things and making them flow together. Like some of those scenes he's had to redo like over and over and over and over again just to get the right shots to make it work, which a lot of them are done as single one shot scenes that they just in some cases. Others they just parse and edit it out for it when they want to, but very little. The best of the fight choreography scenes is when they have them together. If you want an example of a mess of a fight of a choreographed scenes that looks insane but is amazing, it's an old movie called, I think, The Adventures of Robin Hood, way back in the 30s or 40s, starring Errol Flynn. There is a fight scene in there which has something like 60 to 70 different fighters in there, all going in one giant melee to inside the structure. That's legit sword fighting that they have to do on that, and there's so much of it. It's hard to even choreographing two people to work together really well is hard enough. Doing that at a level where you need 60 guys to do this so they don't hurt each other, that's a mess.
Medieval times on steroids.
Yeah. Did you all ever see Tony Jaa in Ong Bak?
Yeah.
No, not Ong Bak, sorry, The Protector. In The Protector.
In The Protector?
The movie he did before Ong Bak.
Yeah. Yes, I have.
It's an incredible martial arts film, but there is one scene that will live with infamy in my brain, and it's towards the end of the movie. Spoilers for The Protector. It's an amazing movie. Go watch it. Some of the best fight choreography I've seen outside of a lot of the greats, right? I think a lot of people probably know Tony Jaa at this point, but at the time he was kind of a breakout success. And it takes place in this warehouse, and he's going after, he's protecting an elephant. That's the setup for the scene. And these people have stolen his elephant, and they're going to like turn it into ivory or do other bad things to this elephant. And this fight scene takes place in a warehouse. And it is like, I think somebody hits a button at one point, and it's like a cue that all of the extreme sports, like X Games athletes, need to report to the warehouse to fight Tony Jaa. So you got people on rollerblades, you've got people on a BMX bike, you've got people like just zooming around, and he's like dipping and diving and ducking through different things. I think there's like a subway car at one point that he eventually cuts his way through. But it's incredible, because he's just going through and he's fighting these people on rollerblades. And for whatever reason, that's always going to keep in mind, because I can only imagine that the absolute headache it would have been to be like, okay, Jim, you're going to come in on the rollerblades, and we're going to have Susan on the BMX bike, and she's going to do a 360 flip, front flip, and it's going to be crazy looking. Like the headache to record safely, as you mentioned, Leo, must have been an absolute nightmare. But the scene is just, it's just peak.
Well, that's the reasons why martial arts fight scenes are the most expensive things to film, right? Because, oh my gosh.
Because there's so many pieces of the puzzle having to happen at once, but you can't take stuff out because it puts the whole picture together. And it's like, yeah, we know you're looking at things here, but the other things happening here is also as important. And our goal is to make sure your eyes are like, I don't know where to look at, but God, this whole thing's just amazing.
Yeah. And you
I do
watch
wanna
it
say-
multiple times so you can catch it all.
Right? Yeah, I love watching old movies that I've seen a bunch
Oh,
of,
God.
and finding new things in the fight scenes. We're like, oh, they did that thing or that thing, you know.
So one of my favorite things is like watching movies in the background and like the drama will happen and then the fight scene comes up and then suddenly I'm watching the TV again.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just want to say huge shout out to stunt teams and choreograph teams
Oh
for
my
being
God,
able to
yes.
do this and to do this safely.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, yeah.
There-
whether it is for the talent or whether it is the stunt team doing the stunts, you know, and
Like-
being the actors in the movie as well, right? People doing their own stunts, I guess, is a way I could have put that better. Huge shout out to stunt workers, to safety workers, to the safety teams.
yes.
DMTs on
Your
site.
work is invaluable and you're incredible. So thank you for what you do.
Just really all the background helpers, but for this podcast, stunt coordinators do not get the respect that they really do deserve on that,
Yeah.
because they're also the ones that are supposed to coordinate. Okay, a lot of stuff's going to happen. We just got to make sure that nothing actually goes wrong that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you
It-
all ever? Sorry, just to kind of go along with that. Speaking of incredible fight scenes, my brain is just a million miles a
Oh
minute.
no,
I'm
so
just,
excited,
Yeah, it's
ping ponging. I understand.
yeah, I'm remembering like all the cool fight scenes I've ever seen ever, and it's like talk about this one next.
Oh my
Netflix's
gosh.
Daredevil,
Ooh,
Amazing.
the
Yes.
one shot fight scene where they don't make any cuts.
Mhm.
How?
Oh
do you-
my God.
That's like a Rube Goldberg machine of awesomeness. Like, how do you set that up?
And even looking at remember me the name of the actor. His name, I know his name is Cox. What's the first
Charlie?
name?
Charlie Cox. who
Charlie
plays
Cox.
Daredevil.
No, there's one thing I definitely do appreciate a lot is, especially with that one shot, you can definitely see that he is just absolutely exhausted with everything he does have to do. And it's like, no, that's not something that you can just like get like sneak into or like overly fake. This is this guy just being legit and just, listen, have this fight, do this step by step. And it's like, if you seem tired, just let it happen. Like, we just need to make sure you can get from point A to point B in one go.
They even set up the storyline before that because in the story, when it gets to this isn't even the first episode when they do the one shot. It's the second episode, I believe. Because in the first episode is him chasing some people out and he's getting to them. So the character itself, as far as the storyline goes, has already been doing stuff all night, and now he still has to keep going.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone in our viewership has done any on-camera acting, but it is hard enough remembering lines
Oh,
and
God.
subtle movements without having to go through like everything. So I can only imagine how hard some of those days probably were. Because I mean, unless he's like God's gift to acting, he probably didn't get it in one take, right? There was probably like, oh, we like that, but do this differently this time. Some
I can't even
feedback and
remember
some
my
notes.
script when it's in front of me. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Totally fair.
As someone who works in the fitness professional industry, that is just sheer conditioning and cardio the entire time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, I feel like you can just ask him, it's like, so how do you prepare for this? I go for at least 1,000 burpees in one go, and then that's just the warm up, so make sure my body can just keep going. Like that's fair. That's fair. Why not? It's like sometimes the most ridiculous simple things is just doing over and over and over again until you can the body just knows how it goes.
Oh my gosh,
I
it's
can
like so black belt conditioning in the park that we do in the summer is just like you're running constantly, and then you're doing jumping jacks, and then you're getting down and you're doing push-ups, and then you're gonna get up and do some more burpees, and then you're gonna start kicking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I just can't imagine like going through that whole take, getting towards the end, and then being like, "Oh no, sorry, Charlie, you threw a punch at this degree, and we need it a little lower, a little higher," and being like, "Oh God, I gotta do it all again!" Like,
Yeah.
no.
So like, and people love this particular fight scene. It's in Kingsman when they do the church scene,
Oh,
which is
God.
amazing. Now, it's not actually a one-shot scene. It's just edited very tightly to make it look like a one-shot scene, which is its own skill level to get that kind of editing to be done right, because everything has to match just right, and the camera's moving around all over the place, but it looks amazing and still holds up.
Thank you, editors.
Yeah. Also shout out to editors.
So the reason why we bring this up, because this fight scene to make it something that's an action-packed scene is one thing. A fight scene to describe your storyline is a completely different beast for that. So like when we talk about the Daredevil one-shot, one of the reasons why that's so impressive is because of how exhausted he has to look while doing this, to show that no, Daredevil has been going around doing this fighting for roughly about 10 hours straight, and how he still keeps going. That's the thing with that. Another reason why we bump into that is particular styles of fighting becomes signature for themselves. A big case of this is in pro wrestling. Pro wrestlers will have to have professional wrestlers will have to have their distinct style that matches with themselves for that. Talking to some people, wrestlers on this, and it's one of the things that there was a wrestler that wanted to come in who wanted to try this cool new move that he wanted to do, and they told him not to. The reason why is because once he has that move there, it's now part of your move set, so you're expected to bring it up later, even if you're not able to do it, and you have to do it safely still. Then you've seen it where some people, and every so often there's someone who's a big guy who has the agility to pull off a specific move, but they don't put it in their move set. However, the reason why they don't put it is because it doesn't fit aesthetically with the character that they built together. If your character is built as a powerhouse muscle-bound guy, you shouldn't. You will most likely never see them come off the top rope or do something high flying, because that's not really necessary for them.
Give him a high kick.
Yeah, and the thing, especially with pro wrestlers, they're when it comes to moveset, they're a lot like fighting game characters, which each one, as close as a lot can be, still has their own unique style, unique fling, unique way of just like going about the things that's just theirs. Mm-hmm. So, like one really well-known one is something called a cutter, where a guy just grabs him by the head, brings him to the ground. I've seen so many different versions of that. My most famous one is Randy Orton's RKO, where he can do that honestly out of anywhere. Mm-hmm. And even some things that he was able to figure it out, he wasn't even sure if he could do it until Indians, and they were just like, we got to go for it.
Kurt Angle famously, during his wrestlers, he wanted to add more things to his moveset. So one of the things he has is a high flying. I think he has a 540 splash.
No, he did the moonsault.
And a moonsault is a very tricky move to do, because you're basically climbing up to the top rope and, for the most part, backflipping off the rope and hoping to land on that.
And you got to land like right on your front to be able to pull the whole thing off. Actually, I got to get to my rant right now, so a lot of this can start making more sense. So, no, it was actually it was an interview I was watching with a bunch of wrestlers back in the 80s, 90s. I assume, because the ones being interviewed, I believe there was Roddy Piper, Sting, mm-hmm. But there was but of course the biggest flubbery in you can say for wrestlers is, of course, the F word, calling it fake. Mm-hmm. Now understand that there's a huge difference between something that's fake and something that is predetermined. Because if we're going to call everything that's predetermined fake, I hope you really say that same thing to Charlie Cox and that whole thing. I hope you ready to say the same thing to Keanu Reeves during all this John Wick stuff. Because yes, things can be predetermined. You could know the final result. That doesn't mean it's not happening, though. So Roddy Piper went on a big whole rant with an audience member about it. So he got up from his seat, pulled his wrist, like, you want to talk about something being fake? Look at this. And just like he had stitches right across it. It's like, this wrist has been broken for 8 years. Pulls his pants down. This whole dip here, it's not healing anytime soon. That happened. And I think Sting was the one who put it best, is when it comes to pro wrestlers, you got to understand that the way that we go about things, we're three different things. We are 1/3 actor, 1/3 athlete, and then that last third is stuntman. Mm-hmm. Because I'm glad you mentioned just having things fit the repertoire, because one thing, especially in Rest Club they'll go through, we won't even allow anyone to even consider doing a move inside that unless they can actually do it like 10 times in a row. We have to make sure that we got to make sure that your body can do it to an absolute crisp perfection on thing. Actually,
half of that's a safety measure, right?
Oh, it absolutely is. Like I'm telling you, especially for a lot of rookies and people just getting into it, the first things they're always learning is just how to take a hit over and over and over, how to fall on your face, how to fall on your front, how to fall on that booty, how to fall on that back, how to take a hit to the jaw and all that.
Mhm.
And actually, since we're going to shout out stunt coordinators, The Rock's grandfather, Peter Maivia, is actually a person who has helped a lot into what is modern day stunt work. Because for a lot of just theater style stuff, and as someone who does pro wrestling and has done theater before, no, believe me, a stage fight and a wrestling fight, completely different worlds.
Mhm.
Because on one, you're like you got like one side, one angle. You're trying to like, oh, you got to get just the right timing so it looks like you're getting punched. But in pro wrestling, you have a 360-degree audience completely around. If someone's going to be off, someone's going to notice, and it's like, yeah, that was pretty obvious. And it's like, and people aren't going to be invested because if you just see it's like it just looks like a fake fight, then like we can't induce the emotions that we're trying to bring out to people because that's what we were trying to do. Like we're trying to do things to bring out emotions. So, quote that William Regal would always say is, I hit very, very hard in places that can get hit very, very hard. So we all know they're going to take these hits regardless. But if you're going to take it regardless, we at least got to train you to be an absolute tank about it too. So I actually had this conversation back in Bordertown Comic-Con with a friend who got to see her first wrestling show with us. And she was mentioning about just like, yeah, she was talking about just like, yeah, I saw some parts where it looked like a dude was about to like karate chop him, but then he turned and just kind of slapped his chest. I was like, I felt like that was really good. It seems like it would hurt like a lot less. And the moment she said that, I'm like, oh, sweetheart, that actually hurts a lot more than stuff. So actually, a really great way to see how things get trained. There's a show called Young Rock, where you get to see Dwayne Johnson's life growing up, but you also get to see things where he gets trained as a wrestler. And God, the program that his dad tries teaching him in, oh, he is just ripping him a new one on every small detail and just like, listen, when you're in there, yes, you got to coordinate the fight. But for a lot of us, the only thing we know about the fight is the finish and nothing else. Everything else, we got to come with on the spot. Things will go wrong. And that's just because it's a live performance. I mean, it's the same thing if something were to happen, just like in stages, concerts, Broadway. If something happens live, you better think of something really quick on the spot before, because just like the show must go on, and no one knows that more role than wrestlers. It's like, oh, like we can't stop the middle of the fight. Someone has to win, or at least like otherwise it's still going forever.
Oh,
so. Yeah, so it just leads to them just learning how to get hit in a lot of motion, be really quick thinkers. But it's also okay, like honestly, I see Mexico, how they describe their good guys and bad guys, at least for me, makes a lot more sense. Because they're usually called faces and heels, which are like good guys, bad guys. Mexico, they call them like técnicos and rudos, which are just technicians and rude people. And yeah,
the jerks.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're a good guy, it's like, what do you want to do? It's like you want to make people cheer for you. You want to make people like be wanting to see you win, want to be absolutely fantastic. But people aren't just going to automatically invest. It's just like, okay, what do I got to do to make you want me to win? And it's like, good thing there's a bad guy here. Now his job is to just taunt you, get on your nerves, get on the like. The amount of times we'll have bad guys just go, like, once the guy's down, go on the audience, he's like, you look stupid, you definitely look stupid. Just to, like, anger an entire crowd. Well, now, a part of them wanted to see a good guy win is, I want to see this guy lose more than anything else. So, like booing someone in there is the greatest thing you can do, because as long as we get some reaction, we can work with that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give her a special word that was known as kayfabe. Now, never any of that's mentioned. I might be breaking a few wrestling rules, yada yada, but to put it in perspective, anything with the mention about the whole quote unquote like fake stuff, no, what they mention is kayfabe, like the characters, the storylines, and it's like the predeterminedness of stuff. That is kayfabe. That's just like, yeah, like we know that The Rock goes by The Rock. We all know his name is Dwayne Johnson.
What?
It's like, oh, spoilers.
I thought his name was legally The Rock.
No, but no, that just shows how good of a character The Rock is, because even though he's only just now coming back into a wrestling ring, we still call him by his wrestling name.
Next, you're going to tell me you can see John Cena.
You mean the floating pair of shorts? I don't know.
Yeah, right?
But,
That's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
But no, if you want to talk about like things being fake, at least still give the respect that no, people have to train for this. People have to be able to take hits like this. People get damaged so often on this because even one small mistake, and it's just we got a whole lot to make up for this kind of stuff. I once had a guy in a practice 2 weeks before an event where he was working on a DDT. For those who don't know what it is, it's like it's a headlock, and then you come down and bring his head to the ground. His headlock was a little too tight on that and caused a direct head spike, and then his body hit.
Ew.
So for 2 weeks, I could not look left without agonizing pain, and I had to like work on it to happen. So no. You like, it's okay if things are predetermined. You can't call wrestling fake because you want to see how fake it is. Go in there, take a hit, and then tell me how fake it feels.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good like point, right? In that, sure, you and The Rock getting into the ring together is not you and The Rock actively trying to like physically injure each other, or like if his character is a heel and your character isn't, it's not that you are actively like actually fighting each other in this phase that
Right.
in the way that you are not trying to injure each other, right?
You have a very coordinated. We are beating the crap out of each other.
Yes,
because even I've had like actually I think you were at the New Year's one, I believe, where you see me just get like smacked around. No, that was a direct hand on me, and my neck was bruised for quite a few days on that.
And so sure, while these talented professionals, these actors, these performers, whatever you want to call them, are not like actively duking it out, slugging it out, hit for hit with the intent to injure and or maim each other, the hits are still happening just as much as I would say. I mean, if you get into a sparring class and a martial arts class that is a contact-based sparring class, because not all of them are, you are not actively trying to injure each other. You're not actively trying to fight necessarily, but you are trying to establish these practices so that if you do get into a fight, it is applicable to things that you can do. In a similar way, right, with wrestling, you may not be actively going blow to blow with the intent to maim each other, but there is still contact. There's still physicality that is happening in this ring. So like, sure, okay, the fight is fake, quote unquote. I'm putting in quotes if you're listening. These are in quotes. It's fake in the fact that like, he's not actually like
he doesn't want to hurt him that badly, but he's still going to get hurt.
But at that point, like, every fight scene in a popular anything is fake.
Exactly. And it's like, but if Jackie Chan can definitely confirm something with all his broken bones, no, you can coordinate something. Something else is definitely happening. That is also there's something interesting I do need to mention, since you mentioned like people don't always want to hurt each other. An interesting thing with wrestling is that there are some points and stories, because like I said, we're trying to invoke emotions. We want you to cheer, we want you to boo. There are a number of moments where you don't know where the line actually is. And sometimes, like, if something goes wrong or someone's legit mad, there'll be times where just like, no, they'll get hit like for real, or even like hit. So there was known as a receipt. So it's like, no, that thing really cost you. Here's your receipt. And then they'll just like punch him square in the jaw. I'm like, oh, I messed up. But also, very important storyline that definitely showed that just because some storylines are, they're trying to make things happen, it doesn't mean some of them aren't based on some real stuff. So there was a whole thing with the Hardy Boys. They had someone named Lita she was Matt Hardy's girlfriend, and that was all legit. That was the real thing. But at some point, he disappeared, and people were
He
starting to see
disappeared for an injury and had to go recover for some time. If
Yes.
that's the story I think it is. And then Lita was still wrestling, as they do, but was hanging out with his best friend at the time, Edge.
Mhm.
And then Edge ended up cheating on his.
No, they were straight hooking up behind his back, and during the time, Matt Hardy had a whole this is amazing. It was like pre-Tumblr. Before Tumblr, there was Matt Hardy making a whole like blog rants on just like, let me tell you guys, not only how much of a cheating hoe Lita is, but how much of a piece of like Edge is, and went the whole thing and let the whole world know. And people were even start wondering like, is this for a story? Is this for real? No, it was real, and they were putting that thing in the ring. So those guys like go and you can add it, and like really want to just hurt each other. No. These are guys who are just like, no, people know about your drama, but we got beef that needs to be like settled on it. And I think even after the whole storyline ended, Matt Hardy was let go for a while before they were able to like just rehire him for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a number of times where things like that happen. It's like, yeah, that's like some things are predetermined, but some things you also don't know how real it really does feel.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to take it back for storytelling purposes, if you're wondering a weird case on that one, if you guys ever seen the movie Black Dynamite?
Yes.
Okay, so Black Dynamite is starring, and I believe is written as well by Michael Jai White, an amazing high level competitive martial artist. Like, he's got awards all over the place. And because this is a parody, he has to dumb a lot of it down to make it ridiculous. So that way it would just be funnier for the movie on that case. And so he just goes to town and makes some hilarious things on it, like strikes that like bug eyes, and just does a weird strike that doesn't go anywhere. But he has to tone himself down because even though he has the skills to do what he needs to, that's not the case for this movie. We got to dumb it down on this. It has to look ridiculous.
We're trying to make things look very, very silly.
Now back to styles and such, right? One of the things like they do for those kind of forms of storytelling is how they do stylistically. Fighting games will have it notorious for it. Like, everyone is going to have a different sort of style for it. Probably the best example of that is Tekken in the Tekken series. Yep. Those are actual martial arts styles that they actually recorded with mocap back in the day in Ocean Capture, so that way they could have all the forms on it. Which was weird when Eddie Gordo showed up, and all of a sudden you can combo like crazy, and he's the guy you pick if you don't know what you're doing.
He's like Keelik from Soul Cal. You just hit buttons and things happen. And I love Keelik. Keelik's great.
You mean like Meta Knight in Smash Bros? Where you just spin around and fly around and just hope for the best?
That one might be a bit of a hot take in the Smash community. We'll see, though.
Yeah. I like to do that with Maxi from the Soul Calibur series with his chucks. It just goes down.
What we're saying is that every game always has those guys where, like, if you're not good at games, pick this guy and just start spamming.
But they're all unique styles, right? Some of them are more ridiculous, like the kinds in Smash Brothers, which are just directly from, how their characters are going to run. Others are more practical, but still different styles and stylistic for themselves. But that's sort of just to make them more unique as a fighter. Because if you had a fighting game and everyone was Ken Fighter 2, the Ken edition, that was terrible. And that would just be a boring game. Ironically, Ken Fighter 2 was a running joke when on one of the online Street Fighter games, because for the meta, the best character you could pick for any case was Ken. So everyone played Ken, and the meta made it so that way Ken was the only character that was showing up.
Okay, I'm sorry. You just gave me an image of Ken from Street Fighter coming out in a pinky. He's just coming in. Watashi wa no Ken. And just the entire Ken verse, like, yeah, we need buff Ken too. Besides John Cena or whoever that mermaid was.
Now, the reason why I bring up unique styles as a thing is there's two really interesting modern examples of having your unique style on this. In Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, for their 10th year anniversary, they had a special called Forever Red. Haim Saban wanted to actually make this as a bit of a special as he can, so he hired the choreographer who did most of the choreography for most of the series. Keep in mind, by Forever Red, there's something like 6 different Power Rangers series. from the Mighty Morphin era all the way to, I think, Wild Force is that.
It's Wild Force.
Now, there's the fight scene in there, which is one of my favorites on there, which is when everyone's fighting in their civilian form. It's just them. Every single character is choreographed to fight the same way that they would have choreographed themselves in their series, but not all together. What I mean is this. So for one character like Tommy Oliver, played by the late great
Jason David
Frank. And what happens is that he fights in a completely different style as say the original Red Ranger, which fights in a completely different style as the Wild Forces Red Ranger. They're all Red Rangers. That's the thing for Forever Red. And I'm trying to remember the Time Force one, who's doesn't even have a file style. It's I'm just gonna shoot the guy, call it a day.
Did you ever see, speaking of Power Rangers and choreo, his Dino Thunder spot?
Yes, I think so.
So he's in Dino Thunder. He plays the Black Dino Thunder Ranger
yeah.
in that. But there's a scene where he fights his past selves.
Mhm.
Kind of in like his mind palace. I think they do it again in a later season. But it's really interesting to me because you see, not just Jason David Frank's stunt work, but the stunt actors who are taking the stunt work from the 80s and 90s with the original Super Sentai footage, and they're translating that into a modern day fight scene. So you've got the original Green Ranger, who fights differently than he did as the original White Ranger, who fights differently than he did as Turbo Red, who fights differently than he did as Zeo Red, who fights differently than he does as Dino Thunder Black. And I think that's very interesting because this is technically the same person, right? In the storyline.
In the storyline, yeah.
He's fighting versions of himself from his past, and yet each of them fights somehow differently than he does in the present. And I think that's kind of a really cool way to show narratively, like, the transition of one's fight choreo over time. Now, granted, we in the real world know it's because this season came out and then this season came out, and they were different people in the original source footage. So that's why they all fight like different people, because they were different people. But I think it's cool that they tried to marry those concepts to themselves in those fight scenes.
So I do remember that one, and I think for storyline thing, and like I said, my mind always goes to like the fitness stuff. It could also show an example of how his fighting style has had to evolve throughout the years to what he does nowadays, because even for like a lot of people who do like any sort of hand-to-hand combat training, at some point even they start realizing like, okay, there are certain things I can't do as well, and you have to adjust their style accordingly. But that's also a thing whenever we get old. It's like, you know what? You improve, you learn more, adjust. Learn, improve more, adjust. And the same thing, like I said, for storyline purposes, on that, perfectly beautiful for Tommy Oliver.
Another good example of something like that one is actually Spider-Man No Way Home. And it's a beautifully choreographed fight scene, which is they have the Green Goblin taking on the Spider-Man in an apartment complex. And it was tricky to do because here's the thing with, and this isn't just the thing with the MCU, it's superhero movies in general. If your character is designed as power, you have to display that power. But how do you display it? There's a lot of fancier special effects for it. However, Spider-Man, when he fights, is mostly his webbing and just how he fights, but he can fight however a spider can. So how do you translate that as a choreographed thing? You kind of have to work in a weird series of realms for this. So one of the things in it, which is an amazing and difficult, and this choreograph took a good portion of their work. They knew they had to plan it. In fact, this is one of the reasons why Tom Holland got the job as Spider-Man, because he was something like he tried out for it. And when he tried out for it, he wasn't the first one that was considered. However, because he had such a physical background in gymnastics and in
dance, I believe he also did do ballet.
Yeah, he did do ballet. His background with that made it so that way he had the agility to pull it off if we needed to do scenes with this, and it's sort of thinking ahead for itself. So that, and it was a concern for it because Spider-Man fights with his fists a lot. That's just how he fights. but he has to get in there and still do things like jumping off the wall, hanging from the ceiling. Like they are literally in a fist fight with each other while he's upside down and the other one and Green Goblin's not. Now, how does Green Goblin fight? His physically is completely enhanced, so he will fight with just throwing slugs and brute force. Like he does literally a body slam to get him off the ceiling and to just throw him through a bunch of floors. And just at some point, Spider-Man literally gets knocked out of the building, has to climb off to the side, go one floor higher, and then makes his way back down so he can get into a fight in mere seconds. But you have to dedicate yourself to this choreography. It's amazing. It's one of the most beautiful choreographies because Spider-Man's fighting like Spider-Man. Green Goblin's fighting the way Green Goblin would, like a thug sort of thing. Not a whole lot of style, just throw a big punch and hope he goes down. These sort of fight styles take a lot of effort for it, and this is sort of one of the bigger problems that we see in choreography, especially in superhero films, is to do that right, you need to get the best of the business for that. There's not a whole lot of stunt choreography at that level that that's just accessible to do that. There's very because you have stuntmen and stunt women who can do a bunch of stunts for it, but to get that kind of martial arts and fighting choreography and to fight like a superhero the way the superhero will fight takes a lot of extra effort for it. So the real problem with that in modern films and such is that there are at least 2 or 3 superhero based films a year, maybe. And so you're talking about like at least if there's 2 to 3 a year, they take about 1.5 years to 2 years to be made. So you're talking about roughly about 15-20 movies that have to be choreographed trained. There's not a lot of people for it, and it gets expensive to get the best to get the best of the best. But it's also not everyone has that kind of technicality to do that. Like heck, there's a couple of stunt drivers nowadays, like some of the best stunt drivers in the world for films is the same stunt drivers who have been working on it from the 70s. That's sort of just the nature of the business. There's just not when you're really skilled on it, there's not a whole lot of you to be able to do what you need to do. It was a complaint in the DC universe because any of the fight scenes that they have, everyone fights the same way Superman fights with big thumps and such because that's how you can demonstrate power. Works great for Superman, terrible for Wonder Woman, even worse for Batman.
To kind of go along with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time, and I love this thing. I'm going to make fun of it in just a second, but I want it on record that I absolutely love this as a trope. But the 3-point landing is awful. The superhero landing.
Oh God!
You are going to wreck your knees so fast if you do that. And we don't need help as human beings. We don't need help with that.
I can definitely confirm out of all that. You would have a better chance literally just pancaking yourself on the ground. Like,
it looks amazing.
Real, that would hurt a lot less.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Like the both knees down, one fist on the ground looks incredible. If you don't know what a 3-point landing is, go check it out. You've seen it in superhero movies or in most action films, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's very well showcased. But it's not a good way of stopping your fall.
Monkey roll.
Yeah.
Monkey roll. Monkey rolls, tiger rolls. You have options. You really do. Than just the 3-point stance. Even Deadpool had to break the fourth wall and go, God, that's so great and bad for the knees, though. Mm-hmm. So bad.
Looks cool, though.
Oh, yeah. But no, if you're going to take a fall, do a monkey flip. There's other ways to fall and get yourself out of that without wrecking yourself.
Or, I mean, like, if you're going to fall backwards, roll backwards and just pop up.
Yeah.
When we talk about fight choreography, we have to talk about John Wick. It's what made that film.
Yeah.
Or that it was just designed as a choreography scene, but the sequences are designed to continue the storytelling for itself. Like when John Wick starts getting injured, he has to fight completely differently, but still have that huge aggression that John Wick's famous for. Like he's not out until he's down, and even when he's down, he's still not out.
And I think another thing, much like Jackie Chan, is that John Wick also showed how well he was at adapting at whatever environment he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it was I want to say a third one where everyone was trying to hunt him down, where he kept shooting each other over and over, and it went into hand-to-hand combat. And it took him probably a good 5 minutes to realize, hold up, we're in a weapons store right now. they're literally surrounded by weapons and just start grabbing stuff and throwing at each other. Just act as swords like ha 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 ha. But I mean, for a serious fight scene that was going on, that was just a nice little like comedic. No, that probably would happen. Just like fighters to realize, oh, I got stuff all around me, don't I?
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who have made their career in martial arts and martial arts films, or just being in fighting films in general. Wesley Snipes is amazing, especially if you see
Ooh.
Blade. Oh, but one of my favorite roles that he's in, Demolition Man, as the villain, Simon Phoenix, and because like he's supposed, and it demonstrates I am way better at fighting than you are. The thing is that he doesn't become a better fighter when he gets thawed out. So when he's first seen at the beginning of the movie, he doesn't do any of that, of the martial arts that he does. And Wesley Snipes is a fantastic martial artist. Like, he's highly skilled. Michelle Yeoh, almost, I can't think of a Michelle Yeoh film that's...
I love
So
her.
good.
I wrote her name down.
Is there a movie where she doesn't do martial arts? Probably.
I don't.
But I can't
think so.
think of one.
Is there a movie where she doesn't like be amazing? No, there's no movie where she's not amazing.
Yeah,
She's
I
great
can't
in
think of
everything.
any. I also want to
Everything.
call out Donnie Yen because he's amazing too,
Oh.
and he
Oh,
has
Donnie
such a laundry list of martial arts that he's like master level in. It's insane.
I know most people know him from Ip Man, and don't get me wrong here, that movie is phenomenal. It's so good.
I actually
But-
prefer the ones he's produced himself.
You know, to be honest, like Ip Man's so good. I love it. I can't like the fight scene of 10 people is incredible. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Watch it if you haven't. I definitely recommend. But I agree, right? The
Mhm.
ones where he's doing his own thing are a little bit, I don't want to say more inspired because that doesn't feel right, but like
I feel
they're
like
good.
they are though,
they're
because
so good.
he's got the storylines, he's got the interest down, and then he has the martial arts expertise to pull it off, and it's just beautiful pieces all fitting together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so very good.
Oh, what's another good one? People joke about it as Chuck Norris on there. Here's the thing. Chuck Norris is sort of
Yes.
your anti-version on it. He does a roundhouse kick, sold for the rest of the movie. But he is a highly dedicated Taekwondo expert in master of Taekwondo, and I think karate and a couple of other martial arts.
Yes,
But
yeah,
the thing is that his roundhouse kick is just the showstopper. That's what people wanted to come here for. He's got some really bad movies that he has made that people are still gonna watch because he can roundhouse. I think there's one where he roundhouse kicks a demon, which, I mean, sold.
Listen, Chuck Norris roundhouse kicks like Jean-Claude Van Damme just splits.
Yeah.
Whenever. It doesn't matter what the movie is. Just like he's got to fit a split in somewhere.
I hate roundhouse kicks so much. Like,
Yeah.
whenever we have to do roundhouse kicks, I'm like, oh, can we not?
Because we have so many like just kicking options. I'm pretty sure we can find one that isn't around.
Front snap kicks are my favorite. They're just straightforward snap kick. So easy.
Oh yeah, but a roundhouse kick, that's a showstopper. That'll get the job done.
That's a foot snapper right there.
Mhm. Oh, speaking of, let's go a little bit into animation for this one, right? So the animation for choreography is very intense if the animators want to do it.
Avatar.
Avatar is the best at that. In
Avatar.
fact, each of the elements are tied and linked directly to a form of martial arts for it.
Yes.
So
Northern Shaolin, Bagua,
Avatar's incredible.
etc.
I love that show, and the fight scenes are incredible. But we also live in a world where Cowboy Bebop exists.
Yes.
Shh. No. Shh.
There must be balance, like the elements.
No. Cowboy Bebop.
The fight
That's just
scenes
amazing.
is so good, though.
They were so good.
Jeet Kune Do channeling Bruce Lee like at his prime. Oh man!
And it's solid too.
And there, I will say, pound for pound, there are less fight scenes in Cowboy Bebop than there are in Avatar. So it's got that beat, and their mastery of the styles that they are portraying. Right, all of these are indicative of a real life martial art, but also they do kind of get creative with it because you are punching rocks at people. You're not just punching people. So Avatar is incredible. No hate whatsoever. Love that series. But also, like, there are some best is a strong word. I feel like there's a lot of contenders in that ring.
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of different fighting, and it's like honestly, if you want to find an anime with a martial arts background, you can throw a dart at your TV screen on a list of them. You'll find one. There's a ton of them. Ranma on half, and that's just going back into the 90s on that one.
So I am glad you did mention anime fight coordination, because I do remember Michael B. Jordan, besides being one of the greatest weebs in Hollywood right now. No, one of the Creed, I believe, one of the most recent Creed movies, he did take a very, very heavy inspiration of the Goku Frieza fight, and even worked in the shots to be able to make it look like it was like a real life anime fight. So if you end up pulling up Goku versus Frieza and then pull up, I think it was Creed 3 and that fight, and see them shot for shot. Oh, the literally went for just every like anime shot completely possible. He's like, dude, I need to be Goku in the ring. Literally bleach my hair.
A lot of the Netflix shows have been doing a really good job with animated fight choreography too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Castlevania. Was that Netflix?
Oh,
I think,
Castlevania
yeah,
is so beautiful.
Netflix did that one. And then Dota. I just watched some of their fight scenes by one of the animators and was like, holy crap, those are beautiful.
And so here's the thing with the fight scene with that, especially when you're animated, it's both a good and bad thing. On the one hand, it's really great because since it's animated, you can put in exactly what you need to. For example, enter the Spider-Verse, any of the Spider-Verse films, every single one of them run, move, and fight completely differently. There's a thing on that where it's like when Peter's trying to teach Miles how to swing, he goes, "Yeah, listen, you're going to need to learn how to swing." And he literally tells him, "Look, I'm more better at running than I am at swinging." And if you watch that movie, he runs more often than swings if he can avoid it, because that's what he says that he's better at. But like even going to that, Gwen's whenever she's in a fight, it is very ballet, very much Tai Chi, very balanced, very moving and flowing. Meanwhile, you can see more Spider-Man, and he's just going to put up his dukes and punch somebody.
All I can think of is, I've got you for 4 minutes, punk.
4 minutes of playtime. And even I remember Miguel O'Hara's fighting style, because he was always kind of the outcast Spider-Man who didn't have the spider sense or the webbiness or the stickiness, but he almost just fights like a berserking gargoyle, because that's kind of how his whole thing was. He had his claws and just his ferocity and just rage to make him tear things apart.
That's one of the things they tell us in like in my Kung Fu Tai Chi classes is everybody's body's built differently, so you're going to move differently with each move. So just adapt the moves to how you move, because if you try and copy other people, it's not going to work.
Like,
love that.
Do what you want to do, and at some point your own style will just develop.
Yeah, because if I'm going to try a high kick, I can't kick that high. It's not my big thing. However, like I can really throw a lot of my weight around for it. So big pushing moves I can do really, really easily. I've managed to get people to like fly back like 10 or 15 feet from just doing a football player's like forced push once. You can do other things on that, but that's because my body type is very square, very low to the ground. But you kind of adjust for which way you need to go. I've got a lot of back muscles, so a lot of throwing is going to be very much high press stuff on that.
So you did remind me of something for body types, and this is just one thing I just noticed when playing Pokemon. There are 2 of them from Unova called Sock and Throw. One's the karate Pokemon and one's the judo Pokemon. Now, when you mention on that, and I love it, their body types completely reflect their style. And Leo, as a brother, even I can very sympathize, and I will fully admit, I'm not a striker. And it's like, I may be able to like get some good shots and can knock people in one punch. I'm telling you right now, my actual coordination for hitting someone is not the best. However, despite the bulkiness, I do have enough limberness and flexibility to still be a hell of a grappler.
So you always struck me as more of a grappler.
Yeah. That's another thing too, is they teach if you practice a bunch of little things, you can be okay at those. But if you practice the one thing you're really good at, you can be the best in your field at that.
And then you can just grow from that point. Because like,
Yeah.
I can't give out the knockout blow, but I can choke you out. If you can still escape, guess who can give out the knockout blow now?
Yeah.
So now back to my original point with that one is the bad side of the fact that you can animate this is cost. If the more complicated of something that you draw, the more it's going to time cost in just cash, manpower, and time to get that thing made and put together on that. We've talked about this before in the animated episodes for it. It's one of the reasons why claymation has sort of died out. It just takes too long to make one of those. So like if you're sometimes, and you can do corners and shortcuts. The fight scenes were always important to the DC animated universe, and so a lot of them had that blocky art style so that they can do more with less. Go back and check out the Batman the Animated Series. He does a lot of they do anything that they can. Those fight scenes are very well choreographed, really well designed, but the art style is not very complicated, and that's one of the benefits for it. Other ones like Cowboy Bebop's Cowboy Bebop, the movie, A Stairway to Heaven.
Knocking on Heaven's Door.
No, Knocking on Heaven's Door. That's what it was. It's a musical reference on it, but it's like a shot-for-shot fight for another anime, I think, or is it another scene in Cowboy Bebop?
If I remember correctly, I believe there are some cells that Naruto uses that are taken.
That's the one. It was
from
Naruto
that
uses that cell.
The anime, Naruto the anime. To be fair.
Yeah.
No, I am glad you mentioned Naruto, because especially with animation, it also could be quite a double-edged sword on that. Because on one hand, you can make the most absolutely insanely amazing, well thought out fight scene. A good example, especially in the Naruto, since they're ninjas that fight all the time. Obito versus Kakashi. That was just those two in a single room, no jutsu, just pure hand-to-hand combat. And it was just, you could just feel every swoosh of the punch, every hit, every strike. But this is also the same series where I've personally seen him do like such lazy animation that it's no, I kid you not. It would be like a very, very far out shot, so the people are like this big, and all you see is stickers going like ha 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 ha. Just repeat same motion, jump over, same motion, same motion, same motion, same motion. I'm like, wow, you guys cut all the budget from this one fight, and I know where the budget cuts went to.
I love the filler parts too, where it's just one person and they're like panning over their face, and it's just the analyzing of the fight, and you're like, okay, well, that's 12 minutes of my life I can't get back.
Absolutely. And El Penguin, you called out one of my favorite animes, so I have to now in turn call out one of your favorite. There's a lot of it's not just Naruto that does this, right? There's definitely like an A, B, and C team of animators where you're like, oh, cool, we got the B team today. Awesome. All right, well, let's look for some weird stuff, because there is literally a petition on change.org.
Oh god, tell me.
To make One Piece's animation better.
Oh no!
It was created in March of 2020.
God!
And once again, One Piece is incredible. It's a great show. It has some amazing moments and some amazing animation.
Fantastic story.
But there are some scenes where you're like, you guys kind of phoned that in, didn't you?
Just leave 90s animation alone. They did what they did during that age, and some of it's awful.
This is a little bit related, but also kind of not really. We're talking about anime, but I remember I was watching both One Piece and Bleach the other day. I'm trying to catch up so I can continue forward in both those series. I've finished Bleach before, but I wanted to rewatch it for Thousand Year Blood War arc. Anyway, they all start out in like widescreen format. You got the black bars on the side or on the top. I mean,
oh man,
and I forgot that was a thing. And then like when you finally get to an episode where those are gone, you're like, I'm sorry, what happened? I've watched 400 episodes of this with bars on the sides. Where did they go?
Yeah.
Sorry, I needed a recap for everything I just experienced right now.
And now everything's in HD. Crazy.
No, honestly, I got everything off of LimeWire during that age, so I don't even know what format.
I went the other route. I'm a law-abiding citizen, but a friend of mine who's very similar to me, who I know very well, would watch it on YouTube at 240p in 7 parts.
Oh god.
And it was always hard, right? Because I was trying to be current with, they were trying to be current with Naruto at the time. And so you'd have to be like, Naruto, episode 463, part 1. And inevitably, not every week, but inevitably, part 5 is missing.
Yeah.
And then you have to decide, is this worth it for me to like dig down to find the like 30 seconds of animation that I'm missing? Or do I just like try to fill in the pieces between parts 4 and 6?
Yeah, been there.
Sometimes the hype it really is big on that.
The struggle was real.
Oh, but
I think
but then I
2 I watched in that way.
Yeah.
Oh god, no. God, I'm starting having flashbacks to when I was watching One Piece on damn near dial-up speed internet. Like, you know what? I got 2 hours to kill. I'll come back. All right, time to watch at least half an episode.
So you started the night before, and then you get to watch one episode while the other episodes are still downloading.
Yup.
Yeah.
And heaven forbid if one of them gets interrupted.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
Yeah. No hate to One Piece. One Piece is great. Go watch it. But I felt attacked, and I just had to.
Bro, like I'm a lover of Naruto and One Piece. I will be the first one to admit, bro. I can tell you how ass One Piece definitely is in the entire podcast. It's like pacing, booty. It's like some anime scenes, fantastic. Some other ones, yeah. You like we know there was a C team. Where'd you find a Z team though? Like what is this?
Yeah.
They
like,
pulled some intern in for that day. They're like, hey, you can put a tablet pen on the tablet, right? Yeah, okay.
And that's like my bros. Like this is some 4 kids level stuff you're trying to bring back. We're not about that. It's like Oda Senpai will really be down on this. But no,
the One Piece rap is still the best thing 4Kids ever gave us.
100%.
I'm
like something good had to happen. It's like we still have that rap. But oh god, even I'm remembering like some because let's remember like One Piece's entire series of people with some very very bizarre powers. But some of them have figured out some very unique ways on how to use those said powers for their fighting skills.
True.
Oh god, but even I'm starting to think of when it comes to just like having to bring out just sheer emotions for a fight scene. Dane, do you remember when Luffy and Usopp first fought?
Yes.
Like
so
that was an entire episode, and that was a whole like boiling pot of us knowing just like someone's gonna get burned, and we know what's gonna happen. But like the literally went for shot to shot, and just like how good Luffy is, how good Usopp is, and up until now, like we always thought Usopp was just like, okay, he's not that best a fighter. We know how good a fighter he has, a low self confidence, but that was the day where we knew like no, when he fully takes things seriously, this is a guy that you could tell he knows he's going to lose the fight, but he's still going to fight with absolutely everything he's got, and it's like that. And to make it happen between two guys who are close like brothers.
I think that's kind of one of those cool things about anime, right? Is that you can have these impractical, ridiculous, never would happen in real life fight scenes. You know, I mean, Zoro fights with a sword in his mouth. I don't know if you've ever held a katana. I have a hard time swinging one around for more than 10 minutes at a time in real life. I can't imagine having the jaw strength to hold one in my mouth and then hit something with it.
I don't care how much he trains. It's like, yeah, bro, no one's jaw is that strong.
No. It's unrealistic, but it's cool.
Right.
I gotta take a moment too to talk about sea drama because it's also ridiculously.
It was so ridiculous.
Oh my god, yes, please.
Would not actually happen, but things like lightness skill where you can just jump in the air and then just keep going. That's like dream.
If you just run on air, right? It's that easy. It's literally that easy.
You just use your chi and you're like floating in air. It's great.
Oh,
simple.
So good.
And flying on swords too.
Yeah. Or standing on swords, right?
Standing on swords.
That quintessential move where, you know, somebody takes a swipe at a master and they backflip over it and then land on the blade. It's awesome. It's like so awesome.
And it's like, yes, I do want to put in this impracticality for style reasons. How did you guess?
Yeah, if you can't look, if you become a grandmaster and you know you live in a mountain and they have to traverse the 37 death gates to get to you. Yeah, if I can stand on a sword, you better believe that's like all I'm doing.
I love the ones too where they like summon the heavens down and they go to the next level of martial arts prowess, and I'm like, yes, I'm here
Let's
for
go! Get hype.
Well, speaking of how ridiculous, Dan, going back to how much I love Naruto, yeah, I was always impressed with the 3-sword. Killer Bee's 8-sword style. It's like the sheer raw ability of just, what if we can make him fight with more swords? How could they hold him? How could they hold him? It's like, I had figured it out and even still remember it, because, and here's the thing I love with Killer Bee. He didn't even hold a sword in his hands. That was one thing I noticed. He had one in his mouth, one in his tongue, like armpit, leg pit, hip, thigh. I think like one in his other arm. So he was in here like this. His hands are still free. Like, you're holding 8 swords and not a single one is in your hand.
I just want to be there when Kishimoto's like, how do I get more swords in this scene?
There's a C-drama called Blood of Youth that one of the characters also has like 1,000 swords, and they jokingly call him a porcupine because he has to carry them all on his back.
Oh, Kate, remind me, in Word of Honor, I think I've watched like the first season of that. Wasn't there someone whose martial arts style was the martial arts of a sitar? And like just playing the musical notes, and that's how they're fighting.
My god!
Too.
Actually plays the pipa, and that's like a Chinese guitar, right?
Right, that's the Chinese guitar, yeah.
But he plays the pipa, and he plays it at a certain tune so that the zombie people he's made, the drug men, they can't call them zombies because Chinese censorship, but the drug men that he's made react and then attack people based off of it. But there's also instruments like there's another character, Chin Song, who plays, I can't remember his instrument, but he plays it at a certain tune that it like bursts people's brains.
Well, I think there's a character in Kung Fu Hustle, 2 characters that play a stringed instrument to like fling physical objects at people as well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something you see.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
you have counter, like I think it's the main character, Zhao Jishu. Oh my gosh, here we go, butchering the main character's name. Zhao Jishu, he plays the flute and like counteracts the song with the flute music because it sounds so bad.
Bard fight!
I'm waiting for that class in my martial arts class.
I know.
Of the flute
Yeah,
defense.
yeah.
What I
How to
really
play
want to learn is how to
flute.
spit poison needles out of my mouth at people.
Sure. Have you all seen, going back to live action choreo, and very similar to C drama, K drama, J drama, have you guys seen the hero Yoshihiko?
No.
It's a parody show, kind of taking on like the Dragon Quest and these old RPG tropes, but it's done in live action. There's a very famous scene that most people have probably seen. It's very, very memed about on the internet. And there's this assassin in the forest that they're walking through. And he's like, my knife has this terrible sting. One cut means death. And then he brings it up to his face and he licks the blade.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately he's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh no, I shouldn't have done that. And then he dies. This guy just straight dies.
Like,
and
boy, that was a short fight.
And so that's not necessarily like choreography in terms of like fight scenes, right? But I think that's a very cool way to like offset people's expectations, because you've got this like bandit looking guy and you're like, okay, here we go, it's fight scene time, and then he makes a stupid mistake, and the humor, like initially you're like, oh yeah, this guy's badass, and then the humor aspect kicks in, the choreo kicks in. I mean, it's light choreo obviously, right? But like he does a couple of slashes and he licks the blade, and then he's like, oh no, what have I done? And then he dies.
Mistakes have been made.
I just love how you can tell so much about a character by that instant of choreography.
Yes.
Speaking of styles, you're also making me think of how many unique times choreography has tried developing a new animal style. Because do you guys remember that time Jackie Chan discovered cat style fighting, and would actually get on those 4 arms back and just start scratching their face?
Or what is it, Orgazmo, where they have gerbil fighting, I think is what it is. Dad, I don't want to do gerbil fighting. All right. That was it.
But I think the one who was the most on the nose on that was Kung Fu Panda and the Furious 5. Like, well, what style does fighting does Crane do? Crane style. And how about Tiger style? I'm guessing Viper does snake style. Well, how'd you know? But if we're going to go to the ridiculous route, one of my favorite wrestlers, his name is Orange Cassidy. Does anyone want to take a crack on what animal style he goes with?
Cat.
Orange Cassidy. Orange style.
Orange.
He gets in a tree and then he attacks people from the tree. That's my guess.
That's more of a coconut. It's a real problem in South America.
Unless you're in Florida.
Oh no, that's the fruit style fight. We'll get to that one later.
Okay, yeah. Is that a devil fruit? Is that a devil fruit?
No, Orange Cassidy is the master of sloth style fighting.
Oh.
How he describes it is moving as slowly and minimally as possible for max effectiveness, but he does it to. Tai Chi. Oh my god, dude! Tai Chi looks like a speed run compared to what this guy does. Because his whole like thing for like taunting people, it's like, all right, hold up. He'll start putting his hands up. What's gonna do? Oh my god! Oh, he's putting his hands in his pockets, and he's slowly, devastating kicks, just the slowest things ever. The entire crowd, person's just looking over, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Goes for your coastline, and he just goes down, steps right under. Yep. Turns around, like, what is this? Yep. I've seen him once where he would do it just to troll whoever he's going against. And there was a time where he was put out on the ground. He was about to just take the gnarliest just splash. And then it pans out to the other guy, pans back to him, and he just starts slowly rolling over to the other side, like
kind of reminds me like if Drunken Style had a Tai Chi variant. That's what that sounds like to me.
Drunken Form does have Tai Chi variants, though.
Does it?
Yes.
It does.
I never learned that. That's incredible.
It's called hungover style. The whole goal is to feel so bad. You're like, listen, man, I don't want to move. Just like, just lazily going about all his things.
I think it's very apparent from all of the conversations that we've had so far that like this choreo work has not only told stories, right, but has also very much so elicited so many emotional responses from all of us.
Yes.
Because anytime one of us says something, the rest of us go, oh yeah, it's like this time and this thing and that thing.
But I feel like we've also somehow hit damn near all emotions. Like, oh, this one was making me really happy. Like, look at this one. I cried during this. And this one, I couldn't stop laughing during this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all about dedication for it. You can get sloppy and lazy choreography. It's a thing that's there. But if you can put in that extra work, you can really make it shine and make it so that way everyone sees what you are trying to do for that.
Passion for the art.
Yeah.
Passion for it. This is the art side of the martial arts.
It's art.
It's like, what? Why, yes, Gaming Theater Presents is very supportive of all arts.
Martial and non.
I don't know. I think I got that wrapped up for it. So, like, with this episode on this, honestly, that's just the important thing. Doing choreography, if you can do it in a story, they really elevate the story itself for it. Is it absolutely necessary? It's better to have some than none. But if you can find some that do the amazing work, you can make a legend out of it. John Wick, if you had none of the choreography, would not be the
just some guy walking.
No, it would be James Bond, but the old school one.
John walking.
Yeah, true. John walking.
It's like, yes,
that's really good. Actually, that's my next D&D character, John Walking.
John Walking.
John
Wick, except for he doesn't fight.
Yeah, he just walks places. He's a pacifist. To kind of steal a bit line from Ashford Audio, if you've listened to some of our other podcasts, he's asked a lot of really good questions. I would like to know, for all of my fellow hosts, what is your favorite? If you can't pick just one, I get it. But what's your favorite choreo that you can think of in the moment? Like what's that one where when you think choreo, you're like, yeah, that one. That's the one.
Honestly, for me, it is the final fight scenes in the first Enter the Spider-Verse, watching how different everybody goes in. And I go back to watching that over and over again. Either that or watching Black Dynamite, just knowing that this guy is dumbing everything down, and it's hilarious to me. But those are that one and Demolition Man, I think, is the just favorite example of just raw power all of a sudden and being a legitimate threat. And it's done very well. At some point, we'll be talking about the Demolition Man. We'll be talking about Utopias. It's a different take on that. But yeah, if I have to go with one fight scene that really speaks out to me, it's the end fight scenes with Enter the Spider-Verse. Just how different everybody works, and you can see how that extra level of how they all fight is different. What about you, Kate?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about my favorite. There's just so many good ones.
There's so many good ones. I
Oh.
agree.
It's so hard.
But these are my babies. Don't take my
They're
babies.
babies. I
I mean,
can't choose favorite.
Rapid fire. Pick a couple off the top of the dome. No hate.
It's like if you were to tell someone like the importance of a fight choreography, what would you bring up?
Well, for me, some of my favorite fight choreography is actually from Word of Honor, which I don't think a lot of people would really consider being fight choreography because it's so much of a dance with fighting.
Still counts.
I'd say so.
I think I love it because there's such a fluid movement to it, and it also displays the characters' not only emotional well-being in the moment, but their interpersonal relationships between each character that's within the fight scene. So that's why I think Word of Honor for me.
That's cool.
Can I take mine back? I just remembered whichever one, the one that haunts me to
You
this
can
day.
you can just add on to yours. It's yours.
Okay, fine.
You're the one running this podcast. Do whatever you want.
Oh, I should edit
No,
this
Leo.
back. Yeah, that way nobody knows what
I was
happened.
like,
No,
why are you complaining? Show.
no, I have to go with, it's an old 1980s movie. I think 87, 88. It's one of Jackie Chan's first when he came to the United States, but it's not the one that he's most famous for because that's not Rush Hour. It's Rumble in the Bronx is the first one he actually did in the United States, but there was one that he did called The Protector. It's the original movie back in the 80s. In it, there's a fight sequence at the end of the movie where he has to go save his friend, and in order to save his friend is on the top of like a bunch of, because it's in the warehouse, so he has to fight his way against every single foot soldier that they're sending at him, and makes his way up from one section to another set of stairs up to the top of this of a bunch of storage containers, and he has to work his way through past those storage containers to another section and work his way up to through that. The whole time, every time he knocks somebody down, they're coming back up and they're coming back to him, so he has to refight them. It's very video game-esque, but it's very, very, but it's like 30 or 40 guys going up against Jackie Chan, and that's a lot of choreography. When, okay, I've knocked the guy down, he has to still make his way back up so he can be back here in 2 minutes. Like, it is brilliant choreography, and that movie doesn't get the adoration as it does, and that's because Jackie Chan's other movies are have a much bigger effect in choreography. Police Story is amazing. Rumble in the Bronx literally had the choreograph with a hydroplane. Rush Hour series with the different cars. There's the reason why this isn't one of it on his bigger list of things isn't because it's not a good movie, but it's because he's done so much. When your it's like Tom Hanks. When your film repertoire includes like Oscar after Oscar after Oscar after Academy Awards and such, it's hard to remember that he was even a comedy actor. So, but yeah, that's the one that sticks in my mind is The Protector. If you ever get a chance, it's something like 10-15 minutes of a fight scene. It's pretty long, but it is worth it to see how you have to go from the bottom to the top and just work his way up.
That's awesome. How about you, Penguin?
Well, I'm gonna go the pro wrestling route on this. It's so hard to choose though. No,
Fool!
So-
You have chosen too many of them.
that's like, damn, I got a whole category that's nothing but awesome fight. So I love seeing the Lucha Bros either going against other people or even each other, because they've been in the business their whole lives. Like they're multi-generational family of wrestlers. But it wasn't even a main event. It was just them going against each other for a tournament where the just seeing two people who not only grew up in this, but now they're going against each other. Can you imagine how much creative freedom they just gave to one another? And this one, I was seeing him pull off moves that I'm pretty sure I'm never going to see him pull off again. Besides that one, two definitely come to mind for big emotional reasons. One was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Uso for the undisputed tag titles, because that was just a storyline that's been going on for such a long time, and it was the first time someone kicked out of the Usos 1D finisher. Where I mean, if it's a finisher, this is supposed to like end the guy, but the fact he came out, if even looking up, the entire crowd goes absolutely nuts on that because it's just the build up so much emotional moments behind the whole thing. But another big famous one was when Daniel Bryan Danielson won both the heavyweight championship and WWE championship in a triple threat match, because a lot of that he was building up such a story of being the people's champ, who the people wanted. He was the one where just like, the background could be writing all the stories they want, but he single-handedly came out and overtook the entire company. Just like, no, the people want him to be in the main event. And it even came up for what's known now as Connor's Cure, because there was a child who did have cancer during the time of that, and his favorite wrestler was Daniel Bryan. He just loved seeing it. So to bring up not only like a real life moment for this child, but to even make it just the most incredible moment in wrestling history, where the absolute ultimate underdog not only toppled the two big main beasts, but even through all those emotions. And he probably wasn't even character for this. He even rolled out of the ring with both titles on his shoulder, and Connor had a front row seat at WrestleMania. His hugs him and tells him, "I could not have won these titles without you." A few months before he eventually did pass, and even to this day, we in September we always have the Connor's Cure, and it's like, yeah, this builds so much emotion. Just like, no, it's not just a choreography fight. It's moments where we can make memories and moments happen for people that will just last with them forever.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What about you, Dane?
Rapid fire: Donnie Yen, Iron Monkey, Donnie Yen, Ip Man, Jet Li the One, Jackie Chan, Drunken Master, Tony Jaa, the Protector, which is funny because it's not the same Protector that Leo was talking about. It's a different Protector, but they're both good movies, so go watch both of them. Cowboy Bebop in the movie, Spike scene that's channeling Bruce Lee into the Dragon. I could go on. But yeah, those are all really good ones that I stand by, ones that I really love and keep coming back to.
Enter the Dragon's a good choice.
So
that
good.
is so
good.
Good.
His fight, oh god, anytime Bruce Lee's on screen, I can't help but love it. Him fighting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, him fighting Chuck Norris. Some people don't realize that Chuck's in that film as like a background actor, which is wild to me. Can you imagine being a background actor and being Chuck Norris? Like, it's friggin'
Are you
crazy.
kidding me? What about Jackie Chan? Like,
yeah, that too. Yeah,
that's a hilarious story. Jackie Chan's like, people ask him, "Have you ever met Bruce Lee?" He goes, "Yeah, once, because I was one of the extras in Enter the Dragon, and he hit me by accident. I blacked out. I have never seen somebody so excited to be blacked out at that point."
Yeah, I love it. As Jackie tells it, Bruce Lee comes up and is like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, ow, oh it's terrible," because he wanted like more of an excuse to talk to him.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay, but oh yeah, oh no, it just hurts a little bit. It's fine."
And it's like, "Oh, my bad, guys. I got blacked out from Bruce Lee."
He's like playing up his punch.
I was like,
also, to get punched once, black out, and be okay after that's professionalism. Also, I would never want to get hit in the head by Bruce Lee.
No.
Well, the guy who punches a 300-pound bag that's filled with metal, I mean, it can't be that bad.
I will say very, very similarly, I was at a convention where I don't think this will get us in trouble.
Leo can always edit it.
Like, we can fix it in post.
Leo can always edit it out. So a buddy of mine was at a convention that I was also attending with Jason David Frank, and his team came through, and he was like, the liaison for this person at this specific convention, and he was like, "Yeah, hey, can I ask a favor of you?" And Jason David Frank was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he's like, "Could you kick me?" And he was like, "I'm sorry." And he's like, "Yeah, could you like just kick me. Is there a way we could get you to kick me? And he was like, I mean, yeah, I guess I can do that. He was asking if he wanted like an autograph or something. He's like, no, I'd really just like prefer it if you could kick me. And they had built up a little bit of a rapport over the weekend, which is why I think he eventually went along with this request. So I have a friend who can claim he's been kicked by a Power Ranger, and
Nice.
that's pretty cool, all things considered.
I mean, I'm down to take a hit just to say I've done it.
Oh, right, absolutely. Can you imagine?
Do you have any of how many like events you want to go to if there's a wrestler and it's like, all right, listen, bro, I'm part of the industry too. I don't want to get into. What do I need to do to get you to chop me?
Yeah, can you pile drive me, please?
It's like no.
Pile drivers are too big. Go
like,
back down a bit.
I'm going through the route just like I know how this works.
Why am I going down a bit? If I'm going to ask somebody to hurt me, I'm going to ask them to hurt me. Come on now.
Dane, we discussed this. It is not fake at all.
A lot of kids in my day used to drive cars, but I drove pile, okay? So I can't take credit for that. That's a joke somebody else wrote. But yeah, no, one thing I want to ask our audience, right? What is a choreography, a scene that you remember from your life that really has stuck with you? What is a fight scene? What is a driving scene, a gunfight, whatever it might end up being, right? Let us know. We'd love to talk about it.
What kind of violence tickles your fancy? Is it the ridiculous kind? Is it the emotional kind?
We're talking choreography, not necessarily violence,
That's
as
true.
long as it's choreographed well. Other type of storytelling choreography, cars and vehicles. Go back and check out the original, especially in the 70s. Oh, they were with Bullet and or one of my favorites, Gone in 60 Seconds.
I was just going to bring that up. I was just going to bring Gone in 60 Seconds up.
I think it still holds the record for longest car scene. It's like a third of the movie is a car chase scene. It's amazing. The high intensity for the whole thing. Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
So backstory on this: my dad is a professional truck driver. Knew other truck drivers. There's a scene in there where they have to, and they have to protect the bandit by basically cradling him inside a bunch of semi trucks while he's going forward. You're talking about a bunch of vehicles going about 60 to 70 miles per hour. Perfectly in the perfect convoy to make sure that nothing would happen to him, and that's tough with a bunch of semis. I used to do it, but it was fantastic. Ironically, not as good as the movie Convoy.
Fight scene choreo, I understand. Driving choreo, you all are on a whole nother level. I cannot
that is a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I can't control my own body the way I want to some days. Like, I go to throw a punch and it's just wrong. But like, if I screw up, I pull a muscle. If you guys screw up, you might flip a car. Like,
dancing choreography is also very well done.
Yes.
In fact, there's a bunch of animated dancing choreography which is using rotoscope. So they have to dance to do this first. Then we film. Then we draw it, and then we film it, and then we're back in.
Except for Footloose, because there's no dancing in this town.
No legal dancing.
Because
remember, the problem was outside the city limits. But if we're gonna go to dancing, we could also go into a musical choreography. And I'm gonna stop right there before we start another podcast now.
We'll do those later.
I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet. Got no rhythm. Kate is too close. Look at the DMCA.
Not if you cut loose. Just cut foot loose.
Yeah.
Take off your Sunday shoes. In fact.
Yeah, you see, they can't copyright us if we sing bad. It's just it's like we can't do it. It's too bad of a cover. It's like ha ha. I knew that flat C would work.
Is that a cat singing or a person?
Like take that
A, but a column B.
Take that, people with good singing voices.
Yeah, you know who you are.
Sorry.
Whoever you are.
Also, we're sorry.
Yeah.
That being said, the next episode is going to be available in May 17th. For that, when we'll have that available. Now, that being said, this is Gaming Theater Podcast. Logging out. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye, buddy.
Wait.
Adios, mi
gente. I didn't bring up Mortal Kombat.
No. KO.
Finish him.
Gaming Theater Podcast is hosted, created, produced, and edited by Leo Garcia, the Geek Scorpio. Our music is A Drinking Game. Stock media provided by Stormwave Audio /Pond5. Our cover art is by Adam Parker. You can find him at ParkerGFX on Twitter. If you want to send us some money to help with these episodes, you can do so at patreon.com/gamingtheaterpresents. Want to send support that doesn't hit your wallet? Please leave a review with wherever you hear your podcasts and share our podcast with your friends. It really helps out. Thank you for listening.